You are watching God of Wonder TV to refill, refresh, and resent by the word of nation.
Good morning. Praise the Lord. I'm happy once again to join us in Holistic Wellness Show on God of Wonder TV. My name is KARAMBU. I'm a counseling psychologist, and we've been having a series of mental wellness, and on Holistic Wellness Show we talk about wellness of the mind, wellness of the body and the spirit. And in this series we've been having a conversation on mental wellness. So today I'll be talking about traumatic events and mental wellness. Traumatic events and mental wellness. So we are just coming from a season when here in Kenya we've been experiencing floods, and I had an opportunity of visiting some people who lost everything they had, and I was being given of course a brief of how one of the family, they were really traumatized, because even being able to save the children, it was a miracle, because everything, their whole house just went with the waters, and everything that was inside, and this mother was able to just hold the kids and come out of that experience alive. But of course they came out alive without anything. So even maybe as we talk about this, if you know someone who was affected by the floods we've experienced last month in our nation, kindly extend a hand. If you know people who are supporting people who have been traumatized by this experience that we've gone through as a nation, kindly extend your hand. You can share clothes, you can share utensils. There's a lot of need in, of course, the area of beddings. Just somebody being able to start their life, because literally if your whole house was taken away, then it means you've lost everything that you had. Of course, some have lost documents, they have lost, children have lost their school books, so you can give bags, school bags, books, anything that we can be able to support our people with. So then now, when someone has gone through such traumatic events, which now in this case, these are issues of natural disasters. It can be earthquakes, it can be now the floods, or even drought that comes and sometimes just takes away all the crops that someone has put a lot of money to, and all of it just goes in a day. So these events, when they happen in our lives, they leave us traumatized. They leave us in a state of pain, emotional pain that has an effect in our mental status. Remember, it is, I have lost things that were valuable to me. It might be loss of a loved one. You might have lost the whole family. Some have lost even relatives, or they have lost resources, money, and leave somebody very of course traumatized after that event. So a traumatic event is an incident that causes physical, emotional, spiritual, or psychological harm. So apart from just losing maybe, or that event leaving you emotionally traumatized, you might have been left maybe with wounds. You might have been left, of course, feeling or even sick, or if it is an accident, somebody can be left maybe maimed. They have lost some of the ability to do things that they would do before. So you may feel physically threatened or extremely frightened as a result. Some of the examples of events that would bring trauma is physical pain or injury that might happen like during severe accidents or anything that would cause physical pain. We will have serious illnesses when someone has been terminally ill for a long time, or even just diagnosed with a terminal illness that can cause trauma. And then there is war, like we've seen even in our region. We've had situations where people are undergoing a war, and many people losing their homes, losing their families, or many people being killed. These have a way of leaving very traumatic pain or trauma, pain in the hearts of people. And even just being able to pick pick your pieces and just go about life becomes a challenge. Then we've mentioned the natural disasters like the one we just experienced in our nation. Then of course there is terrorism. We've experienced these a lot also again in Kenya. There are times that we've had devastating cases of terrorism. We thank God for the peace that has prevailed lately. Of course, witnessing a death, it may be that of a loved one, even miscarriage. I know these are things we don't really discuss, but they cause also a lot of trauma. Or losing a child, losing a loved one that you were close there and just experienced and saw them die. When we are talking about witnessing death, we are also putting our security forces into this, because these are people who experience a lot in their line of duty, doctors, nurses, people who are the first responders, really experience a lot. And of course, this has a way of leaving people with trauma and pain in their mind. Then there are cases of rape, domestic abuse, incarceration with criminal justice. Someone has been arrested and put in prison. There are so many things that would leave somebody with trauma. Or again, we can talk about cases of even being abandoned or finding yourself alone, living in the streets without family, friends. You don't know who your family members are. Those are things that would leave a person with trauma. So how do people respond to trauma? People respond to trauma differently, of course, in different ways. But the greatest part is that there is always an emotional reaction, and very serious emotional reactions. Shock and denial shortly after the event are normal. Shock and denial are often used to protect yourself from the emotional impact of the event. You may feel numb or detached. You may not feel the event's full intensity right away. So just like what happens after loss, maybe of a loved one, the first thing that will come is that shock and numbness. You may not really be able to feel, or there's all this denial. Like now when the floods were happening, of course the first thing is you are lost of words. You don't know what to say, because a place you called home, where you had everything, you had all your things well kept, and all of a sudden all that is lost. Moving past the initial shock usually would take a while, between maybe 4 to 6 weeks. This is seen as the difference between the acute stress reaction within 4 weeks from the event, or post-traumatic reaction, which takes 4 to 6 weeks. Now, if the stress takes longer, this is where you really need support. You need to be supported through the process. And I know we are not quick to seek counseling, but if we can be able to seek counseling immediately after such a traumatic event, it is important. It helps just to be able to go through those emotional reactions that come during that time. So some of the responses, the common responses to traumatic events may be repeated memories of the event or flashbacks. So even like either you may be seated or you are asleep, and all those events of what happened, if it was an earthquake, or maybe even when we see buildings falling, or when the floods were happening, those flashbacks of that event happening, there is the issue, of course, of nightmares, having sleepless nights because all the time you keep seeing the event reoccurring in your life. Intense fear that the traumatic event will recur, particularly around anniversaries of the event. Especially after loss of loved ones, there's always this intense fear that it's like this might happen again. If it was an accident and you pass through that place where the accident happened, you may relive the experience, the full pain of the event. And now this reliving or the flashbacks or the nightmares are some of those ones that really cause a lot of anxiety and fear and panic attacks, because when not controlled, then can make someone mental status to completely be disorganized or just be sick because of the pain that is associated with the trauma. Then there is withdrawal and isolation from day-to-day activities. That person may be withdrawn because of the heaviness of the emotions. There is avoidance of reminders of the event. You don't want to talk about it, and you always hear people saying, that is a place I don't want to go, I don't want to talk about this. Then there is shift in moods or change in thought patterns. Of course, again, the mood change may be, you may remain very moody, irritated, angry, because of the emotional baggage that is associated with the traumatic events. Then there is irritability, sudden dramatic mood shifts, anxiety and nervousness. There is anger, denial, depression, difficulty in concentration, altered sleeping or insomnia, physical symptoms of stress such as headache and nausea, worsening of an existing medical condition. When we talk about the physical conditions, a person who has gone through a traumatic experience may be experiencing physical sickness, like headaches, consistent headaches, stomachache, joint pains. But all these things are there not because the person maybe is sick, but because mentally they are disturbed. So a condition known as post-traumatic stress disorder can sometimes occur after you have experienced a life-threatening event or witnessed death. Now, a person with post-traumatic stress disorder requires medical attention from a psychiatrist in conjunction with counseling, so that you can be able to relieve or go through the painful events. Sometimes we only get the medical attention, that is the psychiatric medication, and fail to take the person through the counseling or therapy to just be able to heal from the emotional pain associated with those traumatic events. And if this happens, what happens is that, of course, yes, they may heal from the symptoms, the anxiety may go down, the depression may go down, but still the pain associated with the traumatic event has not been addressed. So how can someone be able to manage traumatic stress? What can I be able to do? As we are talking to that person who might have gone through the floods, maybe have experienced like where the houses were falling and lost a loved one. We had We have people who have lost loved ones in accidents, and of course, all these. How can we be able now to manage those traumatic stress? There are several ways to help restore your emotional stability after a traumatic event. One of it is to notice if you feel a pull to avoid things in your life, and try to stay engaged in routines like work and social life. Now, staying alone is one of the ways of increasing depression, especially after a traumatic event. Try as much as possible to just get engaged and do something. Spend time with others to avoid becoming withdrawn, even if you do not feel up to it. Now, for those people who may be around those people, it is important to offer that support. Just offer that community. Don't force them to talk about it, but just giving that presence and allowing them to share their pain when they are willing. Pursue hobbies or interests. Be able to pursue. Are there things that you like? Are there songs maybe you like listening to? Is there maybe a particular hobby that you like doing? Communicate the experience with family or close friends in a diary, or of course also write about it. It is important to write about the experiences and what you're feeling every day. Give yourself time and recognize that you can't control everything. Now, one of the things that make many people to slip into depression is wanting things to go back to normal fast. The pressure of wanting to see things go back to normal. Accepting that this has happened and you're supposed to begin all over again is very important in the healing process. Just that part of accepting. I have lost a home. I have lost property. I have lost things that I had held dear for a long time. That acceptance helps in the healing journey. When we want to see things go back to normal very fast, we are giving ourselves pressure. And that pressure can have a mental breakdown effect where you are forcing your emotions to manage so much. There is pain, there is loss, there is disillusionment, so much is happening, and you're forcing yourself to be okay when things are not okay. Of course, find a support group. If you can be able to get people who have maybe gone through the same things or challenges that you've gone through, and get a professional who can be able to just come and give you support, it will be of a lot of help. Try to eat a balanced diet. When someone is going through a traumatic experience, mostly you don't want to eat. You don't want even to get into, even to have food. And the most likely thing is that you would want to use substances that numb the feelings. So as much as possible during traumatic, when you've gone through traumatic experiences, avoid substances. I know we are living in a time when alcohol consumption has really been normalized, but if there is one thing that really predisposes people to alcohol addiction and addiction to drugs, it is traumatic stress. If we can be able to avoid as much as possible and instead seek help, I want to believe seeking the assistance and support of a counselor is cheaper than buying alcohol. That one I am sure. If we would be able to seek support rather than just get into this chemical substance that just alters the brain function, and all that these things does is they suppress the pain, and in the process of suppressing the pain, I am left with this painful experience that has not changed, because it won't change by taking those substances. It remains there, and now I have also added another problem called alcoholism or addiction, where now almost my life is completely unmanageable. I am not able to manage even the very little that I was able to manage. And kindly, people around those who have gone through traumatic experiences, offer support. If you see somebody is gravitating into addictions, seek help on their behalf or convince them to seek help. Maintain a daily routine with a structured, of course, activities. Avoid major life decisions such as changing careers or moving soon after the event. Now, when you've gone through a traumatic experience, even loss of a loved one, it is advised that you don't take very drastic life changes like moving or buying something or even relocating to another country. We do that a lot sometimes, and that decision is not well thought, because by the time I am making this decision, my mental status is not okay. So I am making the decision without really thinking over the same. So it is important not to make very drastic changes in our lives. So when is this time that I can advise a loved one to seek professional help? How can I be able to know that this one requires medical attention? When someone has a lot of emotional outbursts, they have aggressive behavior, they have become very withdrawn, persistent difficulty in sleeping, someone cannot be able to sleep completely throughout the night, continued obsession with the traumatic event, they're just talking about it, or they are so much fearful about that event, or serious problems, like if it's a student, they start having serious problems in school. I will add the issue of usage of substance abuse or addiction. Or when someone, maybe they were not drinking at all, and because after the traumatic event they start over consumption of alcohol, it is important to help that person get help. So yes, traumatic events can cause serious mental health issues. It is important to not just look down or fail to look for help. I know our society in Africa, we like, of course, telling people to be strong. You go over it. But the truth is that we have now lately seen people committing suicide after such events. We have seen people even ending the lives of children, or they kill themselves and kill the children. We've seen all these things happening around us, and some of them we can closely associate them to traumatic events that happen in our lives, and they are left unattended. So it is time, even as we are talking about Mental Awareness Month in the month of May, kindly seek professional mental health help. Look for help. Look for help. Help is available. Listen to programs like this Holistic Wellness Show. We talk about this almost every other Tuesday. Share. By just sharing with a friend, you may be helping someone. If you come across such content, please share with a loved one. Share with somebody you know has experienced these challenges. And I know that we can be able to save a life. We can be able to save a situation that would have been worse than it is. And for that one who has gone through the traumatic event, please don't blame yourself. Because one of the things that happens is that when we go through painful experiences like this, the first blame always comes to us. We start blaming ourselves and we are saying, I could not have driven the way I was, maybe I would have not gone to that place. So many things. We start putting the blame on ourselves, accepting that what has happened, and beginning the healing journey would help us the most. The other thing is seek help. Talk to someone, talk to a friend, talk to a loved one, express what you're feeling. If you cannot be able to talk, kindly write. Write your feelings every day. Write about it. Write about the pain that you're going through. And for those of us, of course, because we are also spiritual beings, turn to God. God is able to help us go through situations. Kindly, after traumatic events, avoid getting to a place where you're mad with God, because that is where we easily hit the hard rock and we cannot be able to move on. God is our hope. He is our only present help. Now, when He is the one that we are angry at, we will not go for help from Him. We will look at Him and see as one that is not able to help us. The truth is that regardless of what we have gone through, regardless of the situation we may be going through, regardless of the magnitude of the pain, God is able to help us and He is able to come through for us. And yes, we can find healing in God. We can even find meaning again in our lives. So if we turn our attention, instead of turning our attention to the pain, and just release it to God and allow Him to come and make a way in those situations that we may not be able to understand, He is faithful and He can make a way for us. Kindly, if you have a loved one near you that is going through traumatic experiences and you know they have experienced them, seek help on their behalf. Convince. Sometimes someone is not even able to know whether they need help, but with the assistance of someone else, they can be able to seek help. So thank you so much. That was Holistic Wellness Show, and may the Lord bless you so much, and always just following us and commenting and sharing with your friends. We really appreciate that you are able to become a voice, as God of Wonder also TV becomes a voice to the nations. God bless you. See you next Tuesday.